Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
I had it open. Okay. Peter. Mo LaRosa.
Here.
Mary Ann Turner here. Charlie Masterbirdy.
Here.
Andrew Urbanowitz.
Here.
Lynn Skull.
Here.
Bob Gillespie.
Fire evacuation. In case of an emergency, there's 2 doors behind us, behind you, in front of me. Go down the stairs, take a right out to the parking lot. The second means of egress through the double doors here. First right through the door, down the stairs, and straight out to the parking lot. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I make a motion to amend the agenda for this evening and add the election of officers.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move forward with the election of officers.
I make a motion that Mo LaRosa be the chairman.
Second.
Any other nominations? All in favor of Mo LaRosa being chairman?
I make a motion for Andrew Urbanowitz to be vice chairman.
Second.
Any other nominations? All in favor of Andrew being vice chairman? I make a motion Mary Ann Turner be secretary.
Second.
Any other nominations? All in favor of Mary Ann Turner for secretary? We have our new board.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman. And Peter,
And Peter,
still got a seat for you.
Peter's home watching, I'm sure. All right, quick procedure policies of how we're going to conduct business tonight. The secretary will read the legal notice. Applicant will be asked to come forward before the board and state their name and address for the record and present their application. Questions of the board will follow. Audience will be given the opportunity to speak in favor or against the application. If the audience does speak, the applicant will have final opportunity for comment. Additional information not submitted with the application should be presented while the public hearing is open. Once the hearing is closed, no information will be accepted for review by the board. Comments made by the public that are not relevant to the exercise of the commission's statutory or regulatory authority will not be considered by the commission in reaching its decision. Once the application has been presented and the public hearing is closed, the applicant may have a seat in the audience while the board conducts its discussion and most likely its decision. The applicant is welcome to stay for the remainder of the hearing, but it's not necessary. Written confirmation of the board's decision will be given from the town. Definition of when a variance is granted. A variance is granted where such grant will not affect the overall purpose of the zoning ordinance and where strict interpretation of the ordinance will result in a hardship. A hardship exists where the zoning ordinance uniquely affects a parcel of land different from other properties, and where use of the property or reasonable use of the land would be impossible without the variance. Self-imposed or financial hardships cannot be, by law, considered for reason of granting a variance. Ms. Secretary, can you read the first legal notice?
The Enfield Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 25th, 2016, at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of the Town Hall, first floor, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following. ZBA 2016-0101, Sign Pro, Inc., on behalf of DevCon Commons, LLC, owner 51 Palumba Drive, map 056, lot 7, BL zone. Appealing a denial of sign permit by the zoning enforcement officer. Information on file in the planning office dated this 13th day of January 2016. Mary Ann Turner, Secretary. Journal Inquirer, January 13th and January 21st, 2016.
Will the applicant come forward, please?
they're seeing it over there.
Yeah, they're seeing it on the screen.
So
as
laser
well
pointer
as,
doesn't help.
yeah, our live studio audience.
We don't have it on the screen.
No.
He thinks this is Bewitched.
That's an IT thing. Let me go pop my head down there.
Wait, here it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Hey, welcome up.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, my name is Robert Kushpa. I'm with SignPro Incorporated, 60 Westfield Drive, Plantsville, Connecticut. And we're here representing Goodwill Industries with their signage proposal for the new building.
Okay.
So, on this first slide, this was one of the original drawings that were submitted during the site plan review. And they wanted to note that there was never any mention that there might be an issue with any part of the building or the signage. I know normally during site plan reviews, they don't review signage in particular, but it was just worthy to note that, nothing was said. On this drawing, you see there were 3 signs that were approved. There's the Goodwill sign right over the front door. That one is 42.25 square feet. Then to the drive-through on the left, there's a donation sign, which is directional in nature. That's 7.35 square feet. And on the back side of the canopy is a clearance sign, non-illuminated clearance sign. That's 7.35 square feet. So that's what was granted, a total of 56.95 square feet. And what we're proposing is the 4th sign on the tower feature, which is another 54.3 square feet, would bring the total up to 111. The building width allows for 201 square feet of signage, so we're not asking for an overly amount of signage, just something that makes the building more visible.
200 and what?
201 square feet is what it would be allowed by code due to its setback from the road.
And you're asking for
111.
111.
So that was the original idea of the tower feature, was they knew they had to get signage into a better position. The building was set up to line up with the rest of the buildings in the plaza, but with the way that the street is located, it winds up being the farthest point back on the property. And here's the completion photos. The close-up, you can see the Goodwill sign over the front door. On the distance shot, which was taken about halfway back across the parking lot, you can't see the Goodwill very well when the trees are bare. And again, the tower was put there as an attempt to get better visibility for this building. Now, during our denial, it was deemed that this sign sits on a parapet wall above the roof line. And looking at this structure, it's quite a massive part of the building. It's not a parapet wall. It's another portion of the building. There's 2 parts to the sign regulations concerning sign positioning. One is that no sign or portion of shall project above the exterior wall of the structure. That's very clear-cut, easy to understand. Some towns do allow it, but at least you know whether you're compliant or not. The second portion, they lead you to this figure 10.30.2 that shows several different configurations of buildings and where the maximum height of a wall sign could be. They kind of infer that that's the roof line on each of them. Our problem here is that this building doesn't fit one of these 4 shapes. And from some of the examples we gave, there's lots of buildings in town that don't fit these 4 shapes. I don't know how any of these photos that I took, if they were all compliant, if they needed variances or what. But I just got tired of taking pictures. There were plenty more out there. But it's just to show that, different styles of buildings. The Friendly's there, it's on a gable end. Again, by that little diagram in your regulations, it wouldn't be allowed. The TGI Fridays in the upper left has a tower feature just like the Goodwill. And then some more signs, again, on gable ends and on parapet walls above the, front of the building. So again, we just included that to show that this regulation is really subjective. It depends on how you read it and how you're looking at these little diagrams on whether a sign's compliant or not, and that's why we're here tonight. The way we feel is that the Goodwill letters, the main sign sits below the roof line on the left-hand portion of the building, and then the Goodwill logo that we're here for tonight sits on the right-hand portion of the building below its roof line. Again, the diagram in the regulations doesn't tell you what happens if a building has more than one roof line. So that's all I have.
I have a couple of
Questions of the board?
Would you consider swapping your signs around the building? Let's just noodle on it. It's an option.
Well, then it would put the logo above the roof line on the left-hand side of the building.
Have you made that sign already?
Actually, we did, because nobody saw this coming.
Is it? And you can't take the sign, that big logo sign and move it down?
Well, it would really look funny then. It would be half covering the brickwork, and you'd probably actually have to remove that awning, so now you'd have a window that's missing an awning, or at least an odd-shaped awning compared to the rest of the windows.
Yeah, but I went out and looked at it, and I was trying to figure out how far above the roof line to your sign, how many, from where, it looks like it's about where the smile is. Say that?
No, the roof line is the gutter line, so it would have to be brought down.
Down lower. It's all the way down
Right,
the
it's
bricks
the gutter
then.
line.
Yes.
Yeah, see it in the
It's here.
picture.
Centering it the way it is makes it the most attractive.
Questions of the board? Nobody?
No.
Okay. Would you be able to do this project without that sign?
I don't know what their business is like right now, but, again, you could see what the visibility of that building is, currently. It would surely be beneficial to have that sign there.
Because of that brick area, they wouldn't be able to, they'd have to put the sign literally on the brick.
Right.
You mean below the brick?
Half on the brick and half.
On the brick, yeah.
And this tower is 460 square feet, so it's not just a parapet.
When you figured out the square footage, did you figure it out as the parapet being separated from the building, or was it the signage, square footage of the whole building?
For the amount of allowable sign area was just the frontage of the whole building, not counting the drive-through canopy.
Square footage.
Right. Okay, move along.
Anybody have anything else? Sensing none, and there's nobody sitting in the audience, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Hearing is closed. You can have a seat back in the audience.
Thank you.
Any dis- No, we just closed the hearing. Any discussion?
With all these pictures that are in here, did anyone look to see if, from the office, if these other sites, because I drove around too and started looking, you can find, it's hard sometimes to just see where the signs lining up around.
Some of these properties are brand new, and they've got signage like that.
I went and looked at, most of them I knew. Some of them, at one time, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved all signage, and some of them date back to that. Some of them, when they were built, like the shopping centers, they came in with a sign theme, and they were approved for a sign theme. The only one that I know of that was incorrectly approved was AT&T, and I don't see that on here.
And I remember that being discussed at Planning and Zoning. They wanted it lowered, because I went and looked at that one. They wanted it,
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I did, that was an error.
yeah, see, that's why they're lined up right there.
Well, the two that I'm looking at here, Longhorn and PC Richards, those are fairly new.
You gave them the variances for those signs.
Not to go over the roof line, that never actually came to us.
Right.
It was for size of signs,
That's why they
not for
lost.
locations of signs.
No, never mind. The stake, the steer. You gave
Longhorn.
them- Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that was because they wanted to go over their sign coverage.
And they wanted to put it on the incorrect wall.
Right, but it was never that it was, if you look at the pictures, they're above their roof line.
Okay, what's the
That never
address?
came to us for that. Many other sign variances for them came to us, but the height location was never one of them.
I don't know which one that is.
Page 4 of 5,
Yes.
it's the bottom left.
Oh, I can't see that.
Yeah, I went out and looked at that
Okay,
today.
that
So-
one I didn't look at.
You know, that one never came to us for a variance, except for
How much?
how much and putting one thing on the wrong wall, but
I
the
would
height of
have
it
to
never
look at
happened.
the approval to see if they asked Planning and Zoning Commission to approve the location of the signs. 'Cause sometimes they do that. I'm not saying they did that, I'm just saying sometimes they do that. That I don't know.
In PC Richards, I would believe was the same thing. It was the size of the sign, but the location
Now,
as far as
PC
height
Richards
didn't come into play.
Is part of an approved shopping center.
Right, we made them take the and Son part off.
Yes.
Right, because it was a
They were
That's
over
how
their
they
square
got
footage.
coverage issue.
That's how they got above the roof line.
Any discussion down this end?
I think you've covered what was on my mind.
And the only thing I would add to this, excuse me, I can't see it without the reading glasses off, is that I read through all the regulations and through the definitions, trying to find out what our definition is of roof line. And what we have is this little diagram. And if we, as the Zoning Board of Appeals, have any sort of listing of things that, regulations that need to be clarified, I would like to add that, because applicants coming before us are not finding clarified information in our regulations, and therefore, it's putting everyone in some sense of unease because they don't know what is right. I looked at all of these different locations that were provided to us. I also drove around. It's been nice and sunny, which has been helpful. And I'm trying to figure out whether or not this location has one roof line or two, based on my knowledge of what's a roof line. And if I don't have anything in the regulations to tell me what a roof line is, I go back to what is commonly held as, what is a roof line? So I don't have any other questions. I just have a concern that we are not adequately expressing what we believe a roof line is. And that's something I think needs clarified.
Could I just say something quickly? If you, and you're right, it's very confusing. I went and looked it up when I first started doing signs because it's the top sill plate, that's the roof line.
Right.
That's the building definition, and it's also in the planning definitions, the planning book of definitions. You should pop up and borrow it sometime.
I guess I'll have to. I don't have that.
Okay.
Can we get a copy of that? Is it in yours? Book of definitions.
So what would be
I don't think I
considered the
have.
top sill plate on this building?
Right. Which one is it? That's the question.
Right, that's
Is
the
it
question
here?
she's asking.
Is it this, right there?
Because
Or
there's-
is it this?
Right.
Is that considered a separate roof line?
So there's,
Or is it
in my
all-
mind, there's two sill plates here.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's definitely not a separate, I mean, it's definitely a separate entity of the building. It has nothing to do with the parapet part of the, I mean, it's got its own sill, its own roof.
But is it merely decorative or is it actually structural? I think
That's
is
the thing.
how you interpret it. So, I mean, to me, the structural roof line is the top level of the edge there, not that extra extension that's a decorative feature. And I think that's how you'd see that consistently applied in other towns as well.
What is that? Is that in your definition?
Well, these are in the lines of definitions, but they don't have that one. Because that would mean that all, this would be illegal. Besides the fact there's probably too much on this example.
So do we know that for a fact that this is just an empty space?
We don't. According, from looking at the blueprint, the next picture down, I mean, it's an enclosed area. I don't know if they're using the area, it could be a void area,
That's real.
but it's a real tower. Yeah, it's,
Parapet's just on the top of it. That's, if you were to take the parapet, that, where we're looking at that window, that's part of the building, right?
Right. But there's there's not any use inside there. It's not
like Up here.
there's, right,
But this is still your square footage of your open space.
right.
Okay. It's not in here. Ginny, you gave me everything in this, my book of definitions except that one.
it's on your mind, Charlie.
I'd almost be inclined to, how do you do it? To get it forestalled to the next meeting? Voted down without
Table it.
prejudice?
Table it.
Table
There's
it?
two.
Voting it down without prejudice, it means that the applicant can reapply at any time with the exact same project. Tabling it means that we can move it to the next meeting to gather more information. What other information are you looking to gather?
If that can be construed as a roof line, because it's a separate entity.
Well, my 2 cents on it would be that I would consider it a separate roof line. PZC on other projects in town have considered the same thing, apparently. We've got things in front of us that show us that they went that same avenue. So I'm not saying that we would hold to past practice, because we're not held to a past practice, but we have certainly, as a town, allowed these types of projects to move forward in the past.
Right, but a lot of those are a special design overlay for that particular shopping center.
Some of them are, but some of them are not.
Right.
I would venture to agree with you, Andrew, if the pictures that were provided and the driving that I did was only in shopping centers. But I didn't have to even go into the shopping centers to find plenty of examples outside of shopping centers. And that's where my main concern was.
Why don't we just, I suggest, we have some time. You've already had no sign at this point, so if you gave us a little more time, I think we go back, planning and zoning, and ask to put it, when do they meet again? Next Thursday? So why can't we just ask the question of them? You know, what's their
Are
interpretation?
we
We don't
allowed to-
interpret
are we
what
allowed to
planning and
do
zoning
that?
does.
I guess the question stems around that because you're really being asked tonight to determine whether the CEO correctly read the regulations.
Right.
Right.
Well, I would just ask planning and zoning for that, we've done it before to them, when we've asked about accessory structures, accessory buildings. And we've asked them to just tell us how their interpretation is. Turn your mic on.
Sorry about that.
So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if we could just wait till next Thursday, put a question in front of them, ask them, because I don't have the definition here, and do they consider this, we'll call it a parapet, having its own roof line?
Yeah, I mean,
Their
I don't see any legal
interpretation is-
problem with doing such a
And if
thing.
their interpretation comes back and says, no, it's a facade, then we have our answer. If they come back and say, oh, yeah, that's how we've always interpreted it, then we have another answer. And then we'll be able to answer his answer about Ginny.
To make it fair, you should probably craft the question rather than us,
Yep.
since staff is
do
kind of
that.
party to this.
I'm just not sure we're able to do that.
Yeah.
Craft a question,
Or just-
Well, the
ask the question.
public hearing is closed.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can legally bring forward our applicant to them to
Not-
pose that.
We're not
No, no,
bringing them,
No,
we're
no,
bringing,
no, right, I understand, but with this being what we're going to them for, I don't know if we can legally do that in a public hearing,
Yeah.
That's
because
So
this
then it would
public
have to
hearing
be-
is closed.
It would have to be exactly the way we handled the accessory structure / building.
We would have to
Closed, and then we took it to them,
Right.
and they acted.
We will have to act on this one way or the other.
Tonight.
Then we will have to, if you'd like, get confirmation as to what their thoughts are. But I don't think we can legally bring it to them right now.
So then I make a motion that we deny without prejudice.
I second that motion.
Any discussion on it? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand.
One question, there was a motion on the table already.
It was a
To
motion to
approve, but
close
you-
the hearing.
Okay. No, there was a motion made to approve,
Yeah.
and that's when you
Oh,
started
okay.
discussion, so do something with that motion first.
I'll remove it.
There you go.
Okay. So then we have another motion from Mary Ann, seconded by
Andrew?
Andrew. And a vote signify by raising your right hand.
Five.
No, the other hand.
Stop.
Oh, good grief. I've always raised
All
my
opposed?
left.
Okay, so I think that we should take some time to draft a question that we
So
want to ask.
what will happen is they will be able to better explain it to you later. But the application's been denied without prejudice, which means you can bring the same application back up to us. But the board felt they needed more information and couldn't gather that information while the process was still sitting in front of us.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'd maybe recommend we waive fees
You can't waive.
for his, or we're not allowed to waive fees, sorry. Okay.
All right?
So, drafting up the question. How about if I take a stab at it? I'll send it out to all of us, we edit it, and then we'll send it on to them to bring it in front of planning and zoning for next Thursday's meeting,
I think that's a good
I
plan.
think that's an
Works.
excellent idea.
okay? And then that way there, they can direct us on what their interpretation, because remember, we do not,
Absolutely.
what's the word I'm looking for, interpret planning and zoning's rules. We only act on them,
True.
right? Okay.
All right. Any old business?
Look.
I need another sheet on this, don't I? Because that's not the motion that we made.
Yeah, we'll, How about blank paper? Or you want to do it on the back? I mean, it can be handwritten, we'll type it up, but or just cross out the motion.
I just crossed it out.
Ginny, did you follow up about the South Road, the pizza parlor, about the signs? I think they've been taken care of, taken down.
Yeah, that got taken care of.
I don't really have anything else that we didn't already take care of.
I nearly called you too to see if you wanted a coffee. I should have.
How do you spell your last name, Andrew?
URBANOWICZ.
B-A-N. Okay, any new business? Sensing none. Correspondence? Nope. Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a
I
second?
second.
Made by Mary Ann, seconded by Charlie Masterberti. Any comments? Discussion? No? All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Correspondence? Do we have any correspondence from staff? Nothing. Other business?
We gonna update on where we're at with CREC? Are they coming in?
There was a meeting last week, I think, right? Or a walkthrough of the property last week. I don't have an update as to when they're gonna bring an application in, no.
In our packets, we're not getting, again, the list of actions and approvals and things like that. We've gotten them in the past, then they stopped, we asked for them, we got them again, they stopped. I would like for them to stop ceasing and just continue.
These are actions of other commissions, other boards?
No, of ours.
Sure, yeah.
We keep a running tally of what we've done recently.
Okay.
If we've denied something, we would like to see where the action, what action was taken. Because what has happened in the past is things have happened and nobody checks on them and somebody asks 6 months later, oh, well, that was never, so we just kind of keep tabs on things.
Okay.
That's the spreadsheet you're referencing,
Yes.
correct? I'll make sure Sean's aware of it.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks.
Just something I'd like to see every month. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? That was an easy meeting.